The year of the champion continues as contenders are in short supply. You got Ilia Topuria looking up at Islam Makhachev and the lightweight title. You got Islam looking up to the welterweight division. The champion there, Belal Muhammad, does not want to fight him. So now he's looking up to the middleweight division and calling out Dricus Du Plessis. Of course, in that division, you got a big impending fight between Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, a guy that looks like he might be the only contender that could win the belt right now. We warned you that this was coming. All these champions are calling each other out because there's no contenders really, very minimal, that can seek the title and really get the win. So this will continue. Champions from multiple divisions calling each other out. We got more on this topic next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA Podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What's happening? It's your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA Podcast. We got the gloves on today. Major snowstorm going down outside. It's like 5 degrees in the studio. So who knows how long we'll be able to make it through today's podcast. So it might be short and sweet, but we got a lot to talk about in the process, including multiple champions from multiple divisions, all vying to move up or move down or move sideways, really, to fight other champions because contenders are in short supply, as you heard during the introduction. So let's dive right into some of these stories. No need to introduce them all. Let's just get right into it. Dricus Du Plessis says the UFC doesn't even like Belal Muhammad. He said on the Ariel Helwani show, which I'm glad Ariel Helwani show is back. I love it. But Dricus Du Plessis saying that about Belal Muhammad. Well, why is he saying that? Because Belal Muhammad does not want to fight Islam Makhachev, right? If Islam has a desire to move up, he may just, more or less might just vacate the title and move up to the middleweight division, which is crazy because he just got the title. So you're going to have a little bit of that going on. But Dricus is right. I mean, they're not just going to give Belal Muhammad a title fight. He's got to prove himself as a bona fide champion, which he really is. Let's be honest. I mean, he's really good. But he's got to defend the belt a few more times if he just wants to walk up to the middleweight division and get a title fight. There's just too much going on in the middleweight division right now with Khamzat Chimaev on deck. You got Nazaruddin Imavov is on deck, or in the hole, let's just say, right? He's next in line. So, you got a lot of these things going on with these champions calling each other out, but Dricus Du Plessis went in on Belal Muhammad on the Ariel Helwani show. Now, at the same time, you got Khamzat Chimaev. I just love this, trolling Dricus Du Plessis with selfies. Like, he's literally just taking selfies and he's tagging Dricus in them like every day, which means that Dricus has to see Khamzat every day because it's popping up on his feed or it's popping up in his notifications or whatever. And I just love it. It's just like the funniest picture. It's just like Khamzat selfie smiling, like letting Dricus know, like, I'm right here and I'm ready for the title fight. And, it's a big one. I mean, this is one I cannot wait to see. I mean, these are two of the best fighters in the world, and Dricus is doing a good job right now of defending the belt. And it doesn't seem like there's anyone but Khamzat that can really beat Dricus at this point in time. There's just no one else. Again, you got Imavov and guys like that on the outside looking in who obviously want their opportunity. There's some others. I mean, Adesanya and Jared Cannonier still have something left in the tank. I think that's going to be an impending matchup we can look at. Now Belal Muhammad potentially looking at making a move to the middleweight division. That's all talk until it isn't. Until Islam literally says, I want to fight for the welterweight title. Because, if you're Islam, you're either going to have to defend the belt against Topuria, or you're going to move up and fight for the belt in the welterweight division. And to me, it seems better to work your way up. But will Belal really just relinquish the belt? I mean, that's what he's saying he'll do. We'll see. He said, I would never fight Islam because that's different from me and him. He told Barstool Sports at Chicago. Not even sure what that means. We've trained together. And when you're sweating with somebody and you're doing all these things with somebody and you train like that, it's just a different relationship. And this kind of seems similar to Merab Dvalishvili and Aljamain Sterling. And guess what? It hasn't, Aljamain Sterling is not in the featherweight division fighting for a title, right? He left that division, lost the belt to O'Malley, and has not had a title fight since. So it's hard. It's not easy to just walk away from a title. But that's what Belal is saying he might do. Then you got Ilia Topuria claiming Islam is afraid. Well, Islam explains the UFC made an offer, but for now he'll wait. And I think that's because it's probably Topuria, if I had to guess. Another short guy is talking, another short guy gets smashed. Islam replied. So, again, think about all these champions. Topuria, featherweight division. Islam, lightweight division. Belal, welterweight. Dricus Du Plessis, middleweight. Why is all this happening? Because we're not going to see many champions fall this year from contenders in their own division. Khamzat will win the belt, in my opinion. But Islam will defend against anyone in the lightweight division. Topuria will defend against anyone in the featherweight. Pantoja in the flyweight will certainly defend. Merab will likely defend, although I still think O'Malley can get the belt back. Just not a lot of contenders right now. It's the year of the champion. Make no mistake about it. And it's going to be a little while before, who's going to lose? John Jones? Maybe to Tom Aspinall. We'll see. Who's going to lose? Alex Pineda to Magomed Ankalaev? Please. I think a lot of us know who is going to win that fight. To me, that's pretty easy. Now, as we continue the show, we have heard your calls, ladies and gentlemen. You said, Chris Cross, we want some merch. You got to get the merch going. And your wish is my command. One of our most popular designs right now, don't invite Brazil to the party. And you hear us say that often because Brazil MMA fighters are so good. They come into your town, into your community, and they beat your best fighters. So don't invite Brazil to the party. Check that out. You also got the TCMMA podcast in everything. Hoodies, shirts, hats, whatever you want, it's there for you. And don't worry about the colors you see. You can change up the colors on any product. The link is in the description. Make sure you check that out at this time. Don't wait. Go ahead and get your merch right now, and it will be at your doorstep within 7 to 14 days from what I'm being told. So again, your wish is my command. We have made it happen. The merch is here. Now it's up to you to get the products you desire. So we're really excited about that. Now, it took me some time because I've never designed any type of t-shirts before. And we got a long way to go and a lot to learn, but we got some products up for you right now. Now, I've ordered some products myself. Those are on the way, and I will be displaying those to you once they arrive and showing you more because we need to get the merch going, right? We need to get the word out. A lot of you that watch the show will know what that means. Don't invite Brazil to the party, right? People on the outside might be like, what's he talking about? But if you're, if you're from Brazil, you're a Brazilian MMA fan, this is a product you got to get because it's true. Every card you look at, they go to London, you got 6 London fighters, 5 of those fights, you got Brazilians coming in, and in 4 of those 5 Brazilian fights, you're going to see the Brazilian win, even though it's in your hometown. It doesn't matter. So you often hear me say that in the predictions and in the live watch party. Don't invite Brazil to the party. Now, we got some big fights scheduled, right? When you take a look at the UFC schedule upcoming, Of course, this Saturday, you got UFC Seattle, Cejudo versus Song. That's going to be a good one. Then you got UFC Vegas 103 at the Apex with Roy Vol and Manel Kopp. That should be a good one. And wait, I think that was actually changed, wasn't it? I think we got that one wrong right now. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's Almabayev. So we have to change that. Disregard that. It's Manel Kopp versus Almabayev. Then you got Pineda versus Ankalaev at UFC 313. On March 15th, UFC Vegas 104, Vittori versus Elise. The rematch, UFC London. Oh my goodness. Edwards versus Jack Della Maddalena, a.k.a. JDM. And then March 29th, UFC Mexico City, Moreno versus Usyk. So you got a lot of big fights on deck. And then you got UFC Vegas 105. That's still to be announced. UFC 314. That main event is still to be announced. You already got UFC 315, I believe, on May 10th. So, and I don't see, if you look at it, every 7 days there's a fight all the way through April. So there's not going to be any breaks. I mean, we are on the grind right now. But that's the way the UFC schedule looks, at least at this point in time. So it's exciting. I mean, I'm going to be worn out. No doubt about it. But it's certainly exciting with all these fights on deck. Now, a couple other topics to get to, including the UFC has been called out for not cutting a popular heavyweight amidst roster changes. I mean, you saw Jair Zinho Rozenstruik, get bounced from the UFC, yet you have some other guys in the division that are still there. I mean, how does Rozenstruik get bounced? Well, you got some other fighters that are still there. And there was one in particular that people are talking about, that why are these certain fighters there? Right? Like Tai Tuivasa, he's still number 10, but he's lost 4 or 5 straight fights. You got some others behind him. I mean, the heavyweight division isn't deep. Why did Rozenstruik get cut, but not a guy like Tai Tuivasa? Well, there's a lot in play, and I don't know the exact answer to this because I'm not sitting here looking at guys' contracts and things like that. But when contracts expire, a lot of times that's when decisions are made, right? Are we going to re-sign this guy, or are we going to move on? Some guys still have fights left in their contract, so the UFC is willing to run it out. And Tai Tuivasa is a guy you can sprinkle in different situations when you need to add it. He's a guy you can still put in a pay-per-view main card. I hate to say it, but that's the case. And you can put him up against an up-and-comer, right? You can put him against one of these new up-and-coming heavyweights and still use him as a gatekeeper. Now, when the contract runs out, if he loses that last fight, he's probably gone, right? But right now, that's not the case. So people are up in arms, but, again, it's a business, man. And sometimes, a guy like Tuivasa, again, can be sprinkled into a pay-per-view main card, maybe in the 4th or 5th fight in a big heavyweight fight against an up-and-comer, because Tai Tuivasa's got the name. People aren't really tuning in to see Rozenstruik, but they'll tune in to see Tuivasa, because if he wins, he's going to do the shoey and all that. So he's marketed himself properly. Now, UFC Seattle going down in just a few days. Well, guess what? Remember Paige Van Zandt, the female fighter, wasn't really in the UFC that long. Well, her husband has been signed by the UFC just days before UFC Seattle, and he will fight at UFC Seattle. So this is a big deal, right? Because this card has just suffered and suffered and suffered and suffered some more. But now, and of course, it's still being listed as to be announced. But the bottom line is Paige Van Zandt's husband is going to be at UFC Seattle. So that just leads to a little bit of drama. Don't know what order the fight will be in at this point in time. But what we do know is it does add a little drama to the situation. because she's someone that is always in the news, right? So people are going to be interested in seeing her husband either get his butt kicked or kick someone's butt. And we're going to have to wait and see. And there it is. I was trying to look up the name, Austin Vanderford, who looked good back in the day, and like I think it was PFL or Bellator or something like that. Well, he's going to fight a guy from Kazakhstan named Nikolai Varetnikov, who's no slouch. We have not gotten to this prediction yet. It's the only one we were missing for UFC Seattle, and that's because the fight was just announced. So you got some big fights on deck this Saturday night. And then, of course, over the next 8 to 9 Saturdays, and we're already 2 or 3 weeks in without having a break. So this is usually about the time when it's the longest run of the year because the NFL is done. Hockey and NBA are in the mid-season, right? You just have both of those all-star games or whatever going on. Hockey's a little different right now, but you had the NBA all-star game. So both of those seasons are in mid-season form. March Madness isn't here yet, so the UFC is going full throttle right now because you have kind of like the biggest break of the sports year. I mean, people are going to tune in and watch basketball, of course, but basketball viewership has been cut in half since like 2012. So the UFC is going big time right now. They're not playing games. We're going every Saturday night for months. Then you get a couple weeks off in the summer, and then all of a sudden it'll be Contender Series time and the Ultimate Fighter. And things will be ramping up, and football season will be back before you know it. But guess what? While football season's not here and you got a little extra time, you watch you some UFC. Why not? Why not? What else you got to watch on a big Saturday night when the UFC's going down for 6 hours? And did you not see last week with like 6, 7, 8 finishes in 11 or 12 fights? It was crazy. I mean, you can't miss this stuff. But that's what we got coming up. Now, in terms of some of the biggest predictions right now, and this kind of helps us know what fights are big and what fights are trending. You got, of course, Pereira versus Ankalaev at number 1. That's got the most views right now. And then surprisingly, UFC Seattle in the prelims, you got Ian Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. That's trending on our channel as the biggest fight on the card. You got Brendan Allen and Anthony Hernandez, of course, Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong. That's the co-main and main event at UFC Seattle. And then you got some others on the way down. You got Manel Kape versus Rasul Almabayev there, and some other fights going on. But you can tune into the channel at any time and check out all those predictions as well as the UFC schedule laid out with all the predictions that we've already done. So be sure to check that out. Now, as far as merch is concerned, you saw that earlier. Make sure you look in the video description and you'll see the link to that merch. Of course, you'll also see some of the merch down below this video. Click on any one and just go in there and look around. Again, you can change colors. You got hoodies, shirts, different logos, things like that. So you can get in there and play with it and see if there isn't something that you like. But we greatly appreciate it because when you buy stuff, you support the show and allows us to get a lot done. We need a lot more equipment. We want to start interviewing people, things of that nature. So this is the opportunity you've asked. We've answered. Now it's time for you to take part. But listen, that's a wrap for today. Again, it's like 5 degrees in here because it's freezing outside. And that's a fact, Jack. But at least we're indoors now. We used to be outside in this cold. Now we're indoors, so we'll take it. But listen, until next time, this is your boy Chris Cross. I hope you have a great day. And God bless, as always. Peace.